Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another edition of the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. My name is Matt Harvey, along with my wife Amanda Harvey. We host these podcasts 3 times a week, and maybe soon to be four. We'll see. Anyways, my background in the paranormal started when I was in my early teens, researching ghosts and stuff like that. It wasn't until I had an encounter in my mid 20s that I started actually researching Bigfoot. I didn't actually believe in them until I essentially had an encounter that I mean, 30 of us experienced the same thing. I think the Bigfoot got more than it was bargaining for. It was just trying to scare us off. And, anyways, you guys can go back and listen to that podcast. But again, this is the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast, Bigfoot edition. So today we're going to talk about a lot of things. I'm going to share some evidence with you guys, and you'll let you guys decide what you think it is or isn't. Just to let everybody know, we do allow for guests on any of our shows. Any of our shows. The regular podcast is on Monday. That covers anything paranormal in nature. Amanda has a ghost story that she tells on Wednesdays. It's essentially her edition, her version of what actually happened. A lot of the stuff we won't talk about, but she does. And then on Fridays, we have the Bigfoot podcast that come out every Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think either Tuesday or Thursday now, I'm going to do some kind of podcast talking about, I don't know if it's going to be kind of a mixture of a lot of things. It'll still be the paranormal, but it'll be more talking about experiences in the woods where I've been out, and maybe it won't be a paranormal thing that happened, but I'll be on an expedition, a Bigfoot expedition. And we'll talk about gear. We'll talk about mistakes. We'll talk about things that went right. We'll talk about all kinds of different things on this podcast. It'll kind of be maybe do some survival stuff, because if you're out in the woods, you're basically surviving. You're roughing it, and if you're like me, you just have a 1 or 2 person tent, and you carry whatever you need with you, and you're off grid the whole time. You have access to, sometimes you have access to cell phone service, sometimes you don't. And then when you camp out in the middle of the woods, especially when you're by yourself, things can get interesting. So I've had several times where things have gone wrong, things have happened. I got lost, even though I knew where I was. I still got lost somehow and got turned around, which was easy to do sometimes when you're out in the woods. And then having to find my way back, and my cell phone service not working, so I can't use GPS, nothing working on my phone. Another paranormal problem. But anyways, so we'll be talking about that on probably Tuesday or Thursdays. We'll be doing a survival podcast, essentially. And if that does well, maybe we'll spin it off to its own thing, maybe its own YouTube channel too. So that'll also be on the YouTube channel. We might put some survival stuff on there. And then we're going to start showing some more of our home life with the dogs that we've rescued and stuff like that. And they're a crazy bunch of characters. If you saw the Mama and Shorty video where they were kind of possessed by something and they're making the same crazy noise, we'll be kind of showing more of that hopefully in the future. So like I said, we do allow for guests. If you're interested in being a guest on our show, please let us know in the comments down below, or contact us, deepwoodsparanormal.com. You can go on our Facebook or any other social media channels and contact us there. Or if you're on a YouTube channel watching this, you can contact us through that. There is no judgments. You don't have to use your name or anything like that. You can just come on and tell your story. You can be anonymous. Don't worry about it. I know a lot of people are afraid to come out and talk about their experiences with the paranormal, and especially with Bigfoots and UFOs. But we'd love to have you on. We'd love to hear your story. There is no judgment here. So if you want to be on our podcast, please let us know in the comments down below or contact us. All right. So Bigfoot 411. Let me share my screen with you guys. if you're not watching the screen, then I mean, if you're not watching YouTube, that's fine. I'll read this to you. So this guy David Paulides, I'm butchering his poor name, Paulides. David Paulides is a former police officer who is now an investigator and is now an investigator and a written known primarily for his self-published books dedicated proving the reality of Bigfoot. Wow, I cannot talk today. Bear with me, guys. I'm working off about 4 or 5 hours of sleep, so my brain is missing a few gears here and there. So he did a series on missing hikers and missing kids and all this other stuff. I saw the documentary. It was about 3 hours long, but it does talk about some interesting things where kids would disappear from one spot. They would search for 3 or 4 days, not find the kid, and then come back, and all of a sudden he'd be exactly where he was seen missing, or the kids just aren't found ever, or they're found like on the side of the road, or they're found somewhere else that, you know, the searchers are like, well, we covered this area, you know, or it's way outside of where their search radius was, 10 miles, 15 miles, and they just don't think it's possible for a kid to have walked that far. So if you're interested, go check out his stuff. He has a YouTube channel, he has a movie, he has several books and stuff like that. But what I find interesting about this, and I don't think I've ever really talked to anybody about this. So this happened to me when I was about 4, maybe 5. My parents and I went to Lake Shasta a lot. We used to live in California, and we would go to Northern California. We go Lake Shasta. We did that like every summer. My parents would go up there. We go to some lake, and I basically learned to walk on a houseboat. My dad and mom put together a pulley system that went from one side of the houseboat to the other side, and put a life jacket on me and essentially attached a rope, so I could basically walk from one side of the houseboat to the other, and stuff like that. So one day, I was a big collector of sticks. I still kind of do to this day, but not as much as I used to. I would collected sticks like crazy, and I would always bring home walking sticks or whatever from wherever we had gone out to adventure out to. One time, I think I was, like I said, 4 or 5 years old. I just remember my parents telling me the story. I vaguely remember it. There's a lot of islands and stuff on Lake Shasta. It used to be a really big lake. Now, unfortunately, because of the drought, it's down quite a bit. But there's a lot of old structures down there, and there's deer everywhere. It's a cool location. I would love to go back and hang out on some of these islands one of these days. It's also known to be a Bigfoot area. You know, maybe not super popular, but it is known for Bigfoot activity. Anyways, going back to the missing 411 here. So I was, like I said, 4 or 5 years old. I supposedly wandered off, and everybody was watching me, but all of a sudden I went behind a tree and behind some brush and disappeared. Well, they went to look for me, and I was gone. We were on an island, big island. You know, it wasn't small, it was a big island. I don't remember exactly where it was. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't go onto a map and say it was here. This happened almost 50 years ago. So just aging myself there. Anyways, looking at this, I disappeared for a certain amount of time. They searched the whole island. They searched and searched and searched. And essentially, after a while, all of a sudden, I was right back where I'd gone missing from. I came walking back around the corner, and I guess they questioned the heck out of me. Where'd you go? Where were you? You know, did you see something? I don't know. They won't. My parents back in the day, and they just never talked about anything paranormal. They never thought paranormal. They never, you know, anything paranormal. So there was no information for them to say, okay, you know, you were abducted by a Bigfoot or an alien, or who knows what the hell happened, or you just maybe you went to heaven and came back. I have no idea. But this missing 411 information is pretty interesting. because I was gone for 2 hours on an island where I couldn't, I didn't swim away or anything. I just went around the corner, just off the front of the houseboat and went down around the corner behind some brush and disappeared. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, after they searched forever and ever, they cover the whole island. All of a sudden, they come walking back out. Very strange. Now, could have gone into a portal. And again, I want to keep this Bigfoot related, but who knows what the hell happened. But it just takes me back to this. When I first saw this, I was like, that looks familiar. And the more I kind of think about it, the more I'm going, okay, maybe I was abducted by a Bigfoot. And maybe that's why. Oh my gosh, I got the chills. Woo, head to toe chills. Yay, something's here. Anyways, so I went through, all the information my parents gave me, and there's just not, they don't remember much about it. They just remember me disappearing for 2 hours. But looking back at David's information and the fact that he was a police officer, it just lends credibility to his information. That essentially makes me think that maybe I could have been abducted by a Bigfoot. And then all these sightings, maybe because I had that encounter, maybe now Bigfoots, for some reason, they feel more comfortable with me. I don't know. I've had at least 40 or 50 Bigfoot experiences where I could say that couldn't be anything else but a Bigfoot. And again, you guys have heard me say this a million times. I always say, it doesn't matter what it is. In the paranormal field, you have to have an encounter that you can say it couldn't have been anything else but, be it a ghost, a UFO, a dog man, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, chalk it up to a demon. You have to have that kind of experience where you can say it couldn't have been anything else but. All right, so let's switch gears. I want to go back and keep sharing my show folder here. Excuse me. Keep sharing my computer screen here. Okay. So these are from all over the place. I'm going to start with Black Star Canyon because that's a place that I frequented forever. This kind of lends the fact that ghosts and Bigfoot ghosts seem to be aware of Bigfoots, and places that have hauntings in the forested areas that have hauntings or those types of areas, rural areas that have hauntings, seem to have some kind of Bigfoot activity too. I don't know. I've not tied them together yet. I don't have proof of this place is haunted and then there's Bigfoots here, but I do have a lot of strange things that have happened. And this is one of them. Let me play this for you. It's a little bit long, but I want you guys to hear and actually see this. So let me set this up for you. I just walked, this is Black Star Canyon in Orange County, California. I had just walked through the hiking trail gate and was walking up the fire access road. It's blocked, so traffic can't get through. And I came around the corner, and as I got around the corner, I start hearing this weird clicking noise, and followed by a howl, and hopefully I'll be able to get that in here. This scream is just god awful. I don't know if it was some kind of animal or if it was a Bigfoot, but I found it very interesting. I'll let you guys decide, and if you want to put some comments down below, I'd love to hear them. What your opinion of this is. Again, these are just based off my experiences. These are things that I experience when I'm out and about. It's up to you whether you want to believe in Bigfoot or not. But these are just some things that I've experienced, and maybe you've experienced something similar, or maybe you think I'm crazy. I don't know. But anyway, so I'll play this for you. You'll see the K2 light up, and then you'll hear his clicking come out of nowhere. So let's play this. So I had asked previously, is there a Bigfoot around? And the K2 immediately started to light up to answer my question. And so Black Star Canyon's known to be haunted. Nobody really knows that there's Bigfoots up there, which is probably a good thing for the Bigfoots. But anyways, let's listen to the rest of this. All right, so we got the K2. Hello. Whoa. Pardon my language there. What you can't see is there's a slope here next to the road. It goes up about between 12 and 15 feet maybe, and then there's trees along the top here. So there's basically a barrier. The berm goes up and then comes back down a little bit, about 2 or 3 feet down on the other side, and then the trees are there. It's a perfect lookout location. If you wanted to watch people, you have the high ground. This is a perfect location to do it. So anyways, I apologize for the dark camera. This is infrared if you're watching this. It's very dark. Black Star doesn't have any lights out there at all. It's in the middle of a canyon up by Irvine Lake. So there's not a lot of lighting. There's homes on the mountain behind it, but not here. So as much as I put so many IR lights on the camera, but it's just so hard for these older cameras. This is an older Sony Handycam, and now we've of course upgraded quite a bit to much better low light cameras and stuff. So anyways, bear with the video. It's about 20 years old, so just bear with me. So you can see the trees. I'm pointing the camera at the trees. You kind of make out the trees. And I just got this creepy feeling out of nowhere. So you can see the trees. I can hear something moving around up there. I don't know what makes that sound, but I'm pretty sure it's some kind of animal. It just made a lot of noise. This is the berm just above where the kid is. I actually had a sighting right in this spot. I think something might be telling me I see you or whatever. Let's try and get the sticks out. So I bring drumsticks with me sometimes on investigations. Cool. The reason I bring the drumsticks with me is because I've heard this clicking sound, and now I realize that I think it's like a warning. Hey, you know, somebody's coming or something. It's just a way for them to communicate without having to make too many verbal sounds. So let's listen to the rest of this. Literally. Anyways, I'm gonna clip these together. Let's see if we get any response. Sorry for the shaky camera. That's me making the clicks with the drumsticks. It's interesting. Just wandered on. It's like whatever. It's just. I apologize. This is a long clip. Stand there and try to click back, but oh, listen. I have got the goosebumps like there's no tomorrow. Again, I apologize for the dark screen. The IR light just couldn't penetrate the darkness. The feeling you're being watched. Yeah, that was a creepy feeling. Again, that's me clicking the drumsticks back together. Somewhere in here, I get a response. Just bear with me. I know this is kind of long. Excuse my language. So essentially, I was just mimicking what it was doing. I hope you can hear those clicking sounds because some of them were severely loud. You can hear it. You can hear it moving around up there. You hear it walking through the brush and breaking branches and stuff. There you go. There it is. That's the moon. You're watching this and see the kind of orb thing. That's actually the moon. There you go. There's a little clicking. Oh. Again, that's the moon to the right up there on the screen if you're watching. It's nothing. It's not an orb. It's just the moon. There's definitely something up there. You can see. Holy crap. Do you guys see that? Look right in the middle of the screen here. There's something there. It's a silhouette, a black silhouette. Let me fast forward this to the end. We'll go to the last minute here. Let me go back just a little bit to see if I can find this. Okay, there's a scream, a god-awful scream that happens. I was just excited to catch it on video. It's towards the end here.
What the fuck?
Oh, excuse my language.
Okay, that's either a person
Can you guys see that?
or there's somebody over there.
So I'm going to pause this right in here. There's something standing right back here. It's just a black silhouette. It's hard to see, but there's something back here. You can see the branches being moved as it's looking out of this dark area at me.
That over there is where I saw something last time when I was here during the day.
There's something standing behind the tree. That's just my breath.
Let's try this again. Some kind of scream. I don't know if it's a person or if it was.
Okay, so I'm listening. Trying to find that scream. Bear with me here. That was a tree knock.
That's the moon. Sure, another. Total responses.
And so hopefully we'll hear that howl any second. You can hear it clicking back. Got me excited. I had some kind of form of communication with them.
What we're communicating about. could just be some animal. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully in a second or two you'll hear that scream. It's the loudest scream I've ever heard. Well, no, I take that back. I've heard a louder scream above
It's still out there.
above me up in this area.
It's still interested in talking to me or what? I just got quiet.
I apologize. I should have listened through this beforehand to find that scream.
See, it'll be better.
We'll give it another second or two here, and if we can't find it, then we'll move on.
I thought there's armor between us and it, or me and it.
I believe this video is up on our YouTube channel.
What the fuck?
Okay, excuse my language. That was it. Let me play that back for you, and hopefully you won't hear the profanity.
I can see it'll be better. I thought there's armor between us and it, or me and it. What the fuck?
Okay, did you guys hear that? Ooh, I don't know what it was. It was just a god awful scream. Wasn't like anything I've ever heard. Wasn't a barn owl. Wasn't anything else. It was just a really loud scream, but it was distant. It echoed through the canyon. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much more time on this one. All right. So tree knocks are very common. This is Joe's camp here in Texas.
Money for it now.
Joe and I were essentially sitting around a campfire. He said, "Oh yeah, the best way to get them to come down in to where we're at is to set up a campfire and a bonfire, as he called it, but just a campfire. Put some chairs out, and then we decided to. I don't know how many cameras we had trail cams out everywhere. Must have 10 trail cams out in about a quarter-mile area, trying to track them coming in." And then, of course, they avoided all of them. And then we had 3 or 4 cameras, one behind us, which is the one you're seeing, and then one in my hand, and then multiple other cameras facing out into the woods. So this is a loud tree knock as we sit there.
That's the last apple pie I had last night. That's good.
Okay, did you hear that? That's basically, that's not the campfire. That's the actual tree knock. What's the back of that? That was
Good.
What's the back of that? That was not the fire. That sounded like a tree knock. The video doesn't do it justice. It was so loud. I mean, it was like back, like I had just hit something. Like if I walked over to a tree and hit a tree with something hard, that's what it sounded like. Here's another one. And then if you're watching on the YouTube channel, this is, if you go to Joe's camp, you'll see this video. There's all kinds of eye shine and stuff like that. But so down in this area, you'll actually see some eye shine after the tree knock. So let's take a listen. There it is. Okay, so let me play it from the point where the tree knock is again. That sounds like a scream too. Let's play this back a little. And then the eye shine and a tree knock, followed by another scream. You can hear this scream. I didn't hear this when I originally listened to this. Okay, so yeah, just another tree knocks. Okay. Here's another howl. This is also at Joe's camp. This is on the back section of his property. His property is basically like a football field. He has 55 square acres, and then toward the back left of his property is where the Bigfoots come in, and they'll go around too. They'll go to the right side where he has trees as well. But at this point, they were kind of staying to the left, coming down through the cemetery, and on the other side of the cemetery is power lines, and there's a clearing for goes on both ways forever. And then, of course, you go across, there's a path across into the forest that nobody's allowed to go into. It's private property. Nobody's been up there for 30, 40 years. So, anyways, we had a lot of weird activity over there. And essentially, this is part of what we heard. Did you just do a howl over? Okay, listen back for that.
Wasn't Mr. Joe either.
Listen back for that. That's the right in my hand. That was not one of us. Okay, and I'll play that again. It's kind of a whoop sound. It happened to Christy when she was down in the forest over in Joe's property by herself. We kind of used her as bait. So take a listen. It's at the very beginning here. That's it right there. Let me play that for you again. And then Christy came on because she was having experiences as well. They were all around us. They were surrounding us. It was both cool and creepy too. I actually stood on the other side of the Bronco, away from where they were. Not because I didn't want to see him, but because I was actually kind of feeling afraid myself. Very rarely do I feel scared around Bigfoots or in Bigfoot territory, but that night, I mean, I saw eye shine everywhere I looked. There was multiple Bigfoots all around me, and they were just kind of watching what I was doing. So, anyways, here's another one. So this is actually Christy. She was to my right down in the valley a little bit, and like I said, she was up in the forest. But listen to this. Oh, did I mention she gets Bigfoot on video? That's the radio. So you can kind of hear it. Unfortunately, the camera's mic picks up everything. It doesn't just isolate on audio, like somebody talking or whatever. It picks up on the crickets and all other stuff. So it's hard to hear. Let me play this for you again. Again, this is one of the older Sony Handycams with night vision. These were premier cameras when they first came out, but now they're outdated and old, and they're only 7 megapixels. So this was pretty much the last time we used these cameras. So there's something back in this area here. She actually got eye shine on one of her videos. If you watch Joe's camp, you'll see it. You can kind of hear it. There it is again. I play this back. Unfortunately, I chirp on the radio, and I'm trying to communicate with Christine, make sure she's okay, because she was terrified. In fact, Joe actually took his four-wheeler and went out and got her because she was so terrified. He was monitoring his area with a camera, or actually lots of cameras. There was lots of cameras back at base camp on his property. But anyways, so you kind of hear him. I'm going to play this briefly, and then we're going to move on. Insane. Just what? All right, here's a tree knock.
Listen back to that.
So again, these tree knocks are like 10, 15, 20 times louder than you guys are hearing them. They're really loud. It's like whack, like somebody's just like lightning, flashing through the sky. And when the thunder just about snaps, it just goes whack. Anyways, so that's pretty interesting. That was when Joe and I were just sitting at the camp, at his camp down by his trailers, and we had that bonfire. Okay, so let me make sure. So I'm going to show you 2 clips in a row. These are when Christine and I were. This is a different night. This is before she had the whooping sounds and stuff like that, and we were over on the left side of Joe's property, over by where the bamboo forest is. And this is an area where there's all those tree structures and blinds and all the weird stuff over there. So we were over by his corn feeder because that's an area that he has seen the Bigfoots. He's seen them day and night, whatever. He's seen them multiple times. He's had multiple encounters with Bigfoots on his property, all different shapes and sizes. So we were over in that area trying to check out that area and see if we could experience that as well. So as we're sitting there, we were in the middle of documenting a tree structure or something, and this howl, you'll hear it as it first starts. It just went on for 5 minutes nonstop. It never stopped. And unfortunately, the camera died as it was recording this. So I had to go back and put another battery and put it back on. And so the whole video kind of got disrupted. Again, Joe's property, he definitely has Bigfoot activity, but his property is also possibly haunted by his family members, FYI, the cemetery and stuff like that. He's got 3 different cemeteries on his property, and old family members. His family's owned this property since before the Civil War, and he lives in the National Forest. So let's listen to this. And it was just super loud. And here it continues. So this is right after the camera had died. I gave Christy the camera I had in my hand so she could hold it and kind of keep an eye on what was going on around us. And so I changed the battery out real quick. It just drained out of nowhere. It happened a lot at Joe's camp. It still happens a lot at Joe's camp. We carry external battery chargers with us now and plug them into the back of the cameras because we don't want our cameras being drained. Anyway, so here's the scream continued. All right, off in the distance. It sounds like parrots. It's not parrots. I can guarantee that. This sounds like a female. Living bird. I was not able. Never able to deliver several times. Never able to. I'm going to move to a different location. We'll come back on here in a second. We'll see what's going on right back since we're still pretty late. We have everything go out here.
And we'll be back on the screen. Okay.
Okay, so you can hear all that. It just continues on forever and ever and ever. This is just my normal screen. Let me bump this back onto here. If it'll let me. It is deciding to be a pain in my butt. Okay. Why is this doing this? All right. So anyways, it won't let me go back to the, there we go. So anyways, those are interesting. We have a ton more. We have a lot more. The audio recorders we had back then just didn't pick up the screams very well either. The new audio recorders we have, they seem to noise filter out the crickets and all that stuff. They take the noise down a lot, and they're basically, they record the audio, like the person talking and stuff like that, much clearer than when those old audio recorders. Anyways, all right, guys. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Please feel free to leave some comments down below. Please be polite. If you go, oh well, that's just a deer, or that's fine. Put nice comments in there. We appreciate the comments. This is a learning experience. There are no, anybody who may be professional, but there's no experts in this field. We're constantly learning new stuff with Bigfoot and stuff like that. So any comments are great. If you know what those noises are, that's great. I've got multiple recordings of deer, coyotes, and other animals that I've listened to compare the two sounds of the different things, the different screams and stuff I've heard, and none of them really match up. I've had other people listen to them too that are skeptical. They go, what? No, wait, that's not the same noise. So anyways, just wanted to share that with you guys, and we'll catch you on the next podcast on Monday morning, and you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.